7, and the presentation this evening we're looking at the charting facilities within the Market Analyser 7 program. We're going to get underway and take a look at the basics of charting within the new program. Now, for all of those that have been using Market Analyser Pro or Market Analyser 6, you'll find that the Market Analyser 7 charting is basically exactly the same, which is what we've done is taken that charting out of that package and put it into the new one here. So this tonight should be fairly familiar for you already what we're looking at. But for some of you it may be a little recap on what you didn't what you already know, and for others there may be a few little features we point out that you've sort of forgotten about or haven't used in a while. Just a bit of the housekeeping. If you want to ask a question, then please type that question in and it will appear on the screen in front of me. What I'll do is I'll do my best to address the questions as we go through. The structure of the presentation will be a short 20-minute, 30-minute presentation on the charting. I'll walk through some of the features of that, and then there'll be an open Q&A. So if we can keep the questions regarding the charting, focus to the charting initially, and then when we get to the open question and answer, you're welcome to ask questions about any piece of the actual package. So we'll start out with the charting side of things. The presentation will be recorded and will be available on the MDS website under the blog, or under the Trader Dealer blog is where we're putting it up there. So you'll be able to revisit the web presentation if you choose. A reminder from customer support. Customer support are available late on Tuesday night and Wednesday night. They're there till 9 p.m. and that's for the whole of April. So tonight, last night, but tonight there are people on standby. If you've got questions, you can give them a call on the phone all the way up to 9 p.m. tonight. So with that, we'll get underway with the charting. Now if you right-click on any share, you can bring up the D2MX chart. And the D2MX charts, as I said earlier, are what you'll be fairly familiar with, the charting that comes out of the old program, or Market Analyser 6 program. Click on D2MX chart and the chart will appear. Now it will automatically be loaded with the code that you clicked on, and you can change the format of the charting from line that's showing here into the open, high, low, close, into candlesticks, point and figure, and the swing charts as well through here, 1 day, 2 day and 3 day swing charts. So choose the style of charting that you're familiar with or happy to use, and you can use that just at the push of a button up through here. The other obvious features in the charting that you will be familiar with is the intraday, daily, weekly and monthly. Daily charts, just to click on the D, W for weekly, and we now see weekly information, and M for monthly, and we see the monthly chart come through. Go back to the intraday chart and you'll see the information from during the day. So each of these candles represents a period of time, and to set the time periods that you're looking at, right click and go to chart properties, and the intraday period set up at 30 minutes at the moment. We'll change it to 5 and tell it OK. We have an intraday cap on here on how many days information that we pull in. If you extend that, it will pull in more data, but the more data that you bring in, the longer it will take to load the charts. So you can extend it to include more data or more days if you choose. Tell it OK, and now we've got 5-minute candles coming through, and what happened every 5 minutes. This works better in the more heavily traded stocks, something like CBA, BHP, the bigger companies. The 5-minute candles give a lot more information because there's a lot more trades involved in those candles. Moving through, the zooming in and out functionality has been included in the package as well, and we've got the ability through here to scroll through watch lists. Now this is a great feature because if we move back into the Iris Trader platform in the background, there's this whole range of watch lists which we covered last night that we can create. And we can easily scroll through any of the watch lists on the charts just with a right click to set up which watch list we want to look at. So we come down here and select the watch list, and we select the watch list we want to follow. So if it's pharmaceuticals, we click on that, and we now will be able to scroll through the pharmaceuticals watch list using these two codes. On intraday, I'll switch back to daily charts, and I can then pop through the charts that are in the pharmaceuticals sector. And these will be loaded one by one, moving through. As we showed you last night, again in the advanced watch list, you can take the analyzer results and put them into a watch list and scroll through them in a similar way. So we're flicking through, and if we see a chart that's of interest to us, probably not that one, we can shoot back to the previous chart and have a look at it. So let's say we move on too quickly from that one and go, hang on, I like the look of that. Click on that and go back and have a look at the previous chart. So a great little feature in scrolling through the watch list, but remember you've got to select the watch list that you want to scroll through. And the preset watch lists are in there, the system watch list, ASX 20, 50, 100, as well as the watch list that I've created also. Moving on from that, we can customize what we're looking at in the way that we view the chart. And in the bottom here, we've got a range of templates set up in a second, but I'll just clear this one off. So we go back to a blank template. Nothing on it, no information through here. And we're now looking at the chart with the blank template on it. The volume up here can be added to the chart, and I can customize the volume. So I can choose different colors for up and down volume if I want to. At this stage we'll just leave them the same and tell it OK, and we get the chart showing below down here. We can also add in other information. So we've got our basic indicators here, standard indicators, things like Bollinger Bands, Commodity Channel Index, Moving Averages, all can be added onto the chart with a click of a button. When you click on the button, you'll be brought to the next window, which allows you to enter the information for the indicator you're looking at. So in this case, a moving average, we choose whether we want simple, exponential, or weighted, and we choose the time period, 10 days, and where to display it. In the top window, or do we want it on the volume in window 2? We want it on window 1 in this case, and we tell it OK. And there's our average now applied to the chart. We can also apply the other standard indicators, such as Commodity Channel Index, which applies in a new window. You can apply it over the top, but given the scaling is different, new window makes sense. The time period we'll use is 14, and we'll change the color to blue. Tell it OK, and OK again, and we've now added in down the bottom there. Just a comment from Wayne, the volume colors didn't come up as per properties. What we'll do is just make a change in them. So actually set them up with different colors. Up, down is red, and unchanged we'll have as blue. OK, and we're now getting the green for the up days, red for the down days, and the unchanged is showing down here in blue in the bottom corner. I'll zoom in, maybe a bit more obvious. So there's the green for the up, red for the down, and that appears to be a blue bar there, which is unchanged on the day. So we can have a look at another share. Again, change the way we want the chart set up. Adding it in there, and there we can see the green, the blue and the red much more obvious, with more volumes being traded on the stock. So adding on your standard indicators, Bollinger Bands, again we can set up the settings in here, 20 periods, 2 standard deviations, and tell it OK, and we've got now the Bollinger Bands applied to the chart. As before with the other indicators, we could put on the stochastic, and again set up the parameters, and we've now got the stochastic also displayed. So what we've got here now is we're able to set up the charts any way we choose. And we've got a couple of options. If you right click on the chart, the always save box can be ticked. And what this will do is save this information on the chart. So if I move off to another share, next time I come back, the information will be saved on the chart. Or we can save it as a template. And across the bottom of the screen, we've got a series of templates down here. So we can save that as a new template, and this is my, call it Jeff, and tell it OK. Now the advantage of having it saved as a template, it appears down the bottom here in the templates, and the advantage of having it saved down here is I can apply it to any share in the future. So if I bring up another company, I can actually apply it to that. And any time that I open the program, I can go, well, hang on, I want to look at, say, the MACD and the RSI. Click on that template, and it will load the MACD RSI template. But then I can pop back to the template that I want at the click of a button. So the templates are a very powerful way to save information that in the way that you want to see things. And they're set up and they're always there and accessible when you want to use them in the future. Now the standard indicators have got your basic ones in there. You do have a much wider range of indicators as well under the plotted scripts, and you've got a large choice of different indicators. I haven't sat down to count them, but there's easily 60 or 70 different indicators available in the Market Analyser 7 platform. The Donchian channel, we have a 15-period Donchian channel, and we're looking at showing the range over 15 days, the highs and the lows. And this is drawn now on the chart, and we've got the breakouts above the channel up through here, or a breakout through the lower levels of the channel. Doesn't quite get through the lower levels through there. So it gets pretty close down in this area here. It breaks out through the upper levels up through here, and the move in this case continued. So you can put a Donchian channel on and a range of other scripts through here as well. Moving on from that, there's some other features within the Market Analyser program, and two of these, one is your entry scripts. Now the entry scripts are like a true-false setup. So if the commodity channel index is above or below a certain level, then it will give us an indication when that occurs. So in this situation, the 14-day CCI, the signal line value is minus 100, and the CCI is above the signal line. So in this case, let's say we want it below minus 50, and we want it below that signal line. We're looking for an oversold condition. So the CCI is below minus 50. Where do we want to display the indicator? We'll display it at the bottom, and we'll use a default image, and the color is blue. Tell it OK. And now every time that that indicator is true, so every time that the CCI is below the 50 level, we'll get this appearing, and these are what we call our entry scripts. So these points in here, the indicator is actually true. It's met the criteria. So rather than having a whole lot of lines on the chart and looking for a stochastic crossover in here, you can simply use an entry script to do similar information. And these entry scripts will be familiar because they're also available in the D2MX Analyzer. Up in here, you can use the same entry scripts to run a scan and get a list of all the shares that meet that criteria. And you can also test these entry scripts in the trading system and test how they perform in the past as well. Finding your charts, if you've moved off them, down the bottom here we can click on it and bring the chart back up. Now there's some other special pre-alerts that are included in the MDS package, and these are the MDS pre-alerts in here. We've got the accumulation indicator, conductor, distribution, open channel and retracement indicator. Click on any one of these. We can adjust the periods as we choose and tell it OK. And again, these will be applied to the chart. Now, it doesn't look like we've got a signal on that one. Oh yeah, we've got a signal back through here, accumulation back in the early sort of September last year. There's indication of that. And the accumulation is looking for a drop in the share price and then an increase in volume as the buyers step back into the market, which is what we saw here. Forge has been rising most of the year, so it hasn't had a reasonable pullback during that time to trigger the accumulation indicator. The distribution is the opposite, and so looking at a rise in price and then the sell-off, and we can see that's happened more often in the stock. Rise in price and then the volume kicks in for the sell-off through there. A clustering of these indicators can actually can be used to identify points to buy and sell on the shares. And clearing all of that away, we'll pull the information we've got on here off just by going back to the blank template. One way to clear up the chart and get rid of everything. The other way is to right click and you can actually delete information off the chart. And I haven't got any information on the chart. I'll put some back on. So if I right click, I can delete all indicators and that will clean up the chart also. So delete all indicators, you sure you wish to continue, yes, and it cleans up the chart. So a couple of different ways of clearing the chart. Once we've got the chart there, we can use the trend lines over on the left to draw a trend line up the bottom of the share, highlighting the uptrend in this case. And we can also draw a parallel line highlighting a channel move, so the range that the share price is moving up and down within. You can draw support and resistance lines by holding your left mouse button down and clicking where you want to drop the line. So you click where you want to start, drag to where you want to finish, and then click to drop the second line. And this draws the lines on the chart. You can also draw ellipses to highlight certain areas, or rectangles, again highlighting certain ranges. With a click, drag it to the size and then click to lock in the new chart. Delete will clean up your indicators, so click on it. Delete will turn off the indicator that you're using. To delete it, right click and you can delete the ellipse. You can also duplicate it, so we can copy it and create a new one. Or right click, delete the trend line, right click, delete the rectangle. So we can pick out individual pieces to delete, or we can delete all just by right click, delete all indicators, and it will remove the lot off the chart. So that's a reasonably quick run through the charting, and the Market Analyser 7 charting. Now, as said, this will be very familiar to many of you because you would have been using a similar charting system in Market Analyser 6, or Market Analyser Pro, your previous version. And what we've done is retained all the best features of that and brought them across into the new Market Analyser 7 program. Fortunately, the data is a little more reliable and you won't get that annoying message that it can't load the data that used to come up when we had problems in the past. And the codes are easier to do as well. All you need to do is put in BHP and it will bring up BHP. So there's a lot more reliability in the back end of the charting, but the charts will be very familiar to you. So are there any questions around the charting side of things or around the Market Analyser 7 program in general? Is there anything you want to know about or discuss around those areas tonight? Stuart, a question there. Please show us how to include the Fibonacci on the chart. Sure thing. So you've got your GAN tools up in here. The Fibonacci. Included under your standard indicator list. There we are, the Fibonacci retracement. And, okay, the standard. The way to put the Fibonacci on is to start from a low point of a range, move up to the high point of a rally, and it will then place on the Fibonacci levels. So what happens there is you start from your low, move to your high, and then the Fibonacci levels appear. Now as the share retraces down through that, the levels where it will stop or turn around come here at 50%, down at 382, bounces up 618, back down to that sort of 382 level, and then all the way back down, retrace the entire previous rally in this particular example. But it's one of the standard indicators that's included, and that's the Fibonacci retracement levels. The other one is you've got a vertical Fibonacci retracement, which again, we'll tell it OK, and draw the same period. And this looks at moving forward in time. So using the same Fibonacci numbers, moving forward in time. The standard Fibonacci numbers is the what was discovered by a mathematician many years ago was that the relationship between many naturally occurring phenomenon was in the range of the Fibonacci numbers, and that ratio of 1.618 or 0.618 was key in that, and that the rings in a snail shell were progressively larger by that amount. The leaves on a tree were progressively larger or smaller by these amounts. So it was discovered that the Fibonacci ratio had this application in the natural market, in the natural world, and it's been applied to markets in a similar way. So we're looking at here in both vertical, the horizontal lines through here for retracements, but also vertical for time, picking turning points in time. Alan, question there, is there any way of transferring data from the previous platform? Some of the data can be transferred across. You can transfer your templates and your saved charts from your previous platform into this one. So if you've already saved a whole lot of charts, you can transfer those across using the upgrade tool. If you go into here, into all programs, and go and find the folder called D2MX, there's an upgrade tool in there. Now when you first load the program, you have the option to run the upgrade tool. And if you click on upgrade tool, then it will give you the option to run that, to bring the information across from your previous computer. Make sure that the platform's closed before you do this. So we've got the platform running at the moment. You need to close the platform down, and once the platform's closed, you can run this tool through here to drag across the templates, watch lists, and save charts from your previous version or your previous program. So that's a good tool there, Alan, for what you're doing. A question from Lorena. Already using WebIris through eTrade, so I'm interested in the moment seeing charts. Can I set up MA7 with a layout that solely has D2MX charts? Yes, you can do that. So you can turn off all of the other windows and use the charting from D2MX charting only. You can set up as many of these charts as you choose. But one thing I would say is that the basis of loading the charts comes from a watch list. So it will be useful to maintain the quote watch list just as a basis of loading the charts as well themselves. You don't need necessarily to have all the information on what the companies are doing, but at least having the codes so you can right-click and load the actual chart for that code. So it's useful to have this, but you don't have to, because you can just obviously type in the code once you've set up the screen with the charts that you want. Have purely charts and turn off all the watch list and other functionality from the Iris platform. Question from Jenny. The prices on the right-hand side of the charts don't fit properly. Is it due to the font size for the program or the computer screen? Well, it may be font size. You can play around with that. If you go up to the user menu, you can go to configure font, and this gives you the option to change your font size. So if you're at 10 or 12, you could drop down to 10 or 9. You can also change the style of font if you prefer to use something different. So your Arial through here, Bell, whatever you choose in here. So I'd suggest, Jenny, that you play around with the fonts that are available under User to adjust that to get something that's more visible for you on your computer. Question from Wayne. How do I easily get a copy of a chart to print out on a printer or insert in a document? To print on a printer, it's simply a print chart is a Control P. So Control P for print, Control P on the keyboard, and that will bring up your printer. So what we've got here is a Canon MX870 printer, which is my one upstairs, and I click OK, and that will actually print straight to the printer. So that was a P for print. The other thing, if you want to copy the chart and paste it into another document, you can right-click and copy to clipboard. That's Control-C as the shortcut, and copy it to a clipboard, and then I can paste it into another document. Open up, say, Word, and Control-V, and I can paste the chart into Word. I can then resize it, edit it, play around with it in the Word program as well. So Wayne, I'm sure that would answer your question there. Control P for print and Control C for copy, being able to move into another program or move around the charts to another program. The other one you can do is if you want a view of the screen, is you can use print screen. Now if you've got multiple charts up, print screen will pick up all of them as well. So rather than just picking up the one chart, which is when you Control P, prints the one chart, you can use print screen, which is a key on your keyboard. It varies from computer to computer, but it's generally PRT, SC or something like that. And you push print screen, and then you can paste that into a document, and you'll get the entire program rather than just the chart. So right click, paste, and there's the entire screen that I've put through. Now if I have just the chart at full screen, so I put one of these to full screen, hit print screen, then I'll right click, paste, and I'll get the chart. And you can see the program I'm using for the webinar on top of it as well. So a couple of ways to take information out of here and keep a copy for your records. Now, Stuart, you've got I can't find or see the bottom toolbar on MA7. Bottom toolbar. Just for clarity, Stuart, is the bottom toolbar on the chart or on the actual program? If you can clarify that. The toolbar you can see at the bottom of my screen is the Windows toolbar through there. So it's the Windows toolbar. You can resize the different windows in here. So you can drag the windows to different sizes, and you can resize any of the windows by just dragging them to the size. And that will bring up the bottom of the chart if the chart's off the bottom of the screen. But I'm not sure that the program's bottom toolbar. I'd suggest with that one, Stuart, you give the customer service a call and the help desk on 1300 363 766. This toolbar here, Windows toolbar, can be set up to hide automatically, and if you set it up to hide, it may disappear when you've got the program open. Mine's showing all the time, but it is possible that it disappears when the program opens up. So just check that one out. But give customer service a call on that one, because I'm not sure why you can't see that bottom of it. Jenny, the question, can I take the Dow Jones chart and add it to a watch list that I create? I'd like to wake up a watch list with different overseas indices of my own. You certainly can do that. The international markets, Dow Jones is DOWJON, and if you go into user watch list, Jeff, and go to quote, I want to add in DOWJN and Dow Jones Industrial JON, and there it is. Dow Jones Industrial has been added into my watch list. To keep it in this watch list, I click on Save, and that keeps it in the watch list that I've just created. So you can set up your own watch lists, and I'd suggest, Jenny, you have a look at the last two webinars that looked at watch lists and how to set those up. Particularly the one last night that we did on yesterday afternoon goes into quite a lot of detail on how to do that and create your different watch lists for different things. Lorena, I have two screens. Can I have the D2MX charts on one screen and the Web Iris prices on the other? Absolutely. You can certainly do that because you can resize any of the windows to fit any screen. So I've only got the one screen set up here tonight, but I can put all of these ones over on one side of the screen, and I can set up the iris on the other screen. So you can certainly have charting on one screen and iris on another. Did try that, must have done something wrong. Jenny, if you're having problems with that, again, give the help team. Certainly should be able to spread across two screens quite comfortably. And they're open late till 9 o'clock tonight. So after this presentation, give them a call and they'll be able to help you out with that one. Okay, so are there any other questions around the program? Anything that you've trying to get familiar with or you're struggling a little with? Any other questions around that at this stage? Nothing coming through, all quiet? Well, that's good. It means that obviously you're getting familiar with the new platform and finding your way around it. That's great. As I said tonight we're looking at the charting, and it's all reasonably straightforward because mostly you'll be pretty familiar with it. One other thing I'll show while we're on the charting before we wrap up is the ability to broadcast charts open. And if I set one up at intraday, I set one up at weekly, and I set one up at daily, and I'll get rid of some of those lines off there, delete the indicators, and then what I can do is I can right click and broadcast, and by broadcasting I update every chart in the screen with CBA, and now I have the intraday chart, I have the daily chart, and I have the weekly chart, all of CBA. And I can do the same for CSL. I can broadcast that through, and then the same for Newcrest and broadcast. And what that will do is that will update each of the screens. So each of the screens in here are updated automatically. One thing to watch with this, if you have multiple shares open and you want to watch multiple shares, it will update all the shares. So if you have the XJO in this chart here, and you then do a right-click broadcast, the XJO will change to the share that you've broadcast. And we're currently working on the data link, and the data link will actually allow you to choose which charts update, so that instead of just having to update everything, you'll be able to link the charts that you want to link. So that's something that will be released in one of the future releases. Okay, so if there's no other questions, if there's anything else you want to know about the program or anything you're finding new or different, or any feedback that you can give us, would be much appreciated. Stuart's question, will there be picture as well as market depth? At this stage the picture is not on the cards. It is something that we're looking at for a future upgrade, but it's not available at this stage. So the picture gave you that visual view of where market depth was at. It's certainly something that we're looking at and looking for a future release, but not available at the moment. You should. Definitely. It's a great visual tool to see what's going on in the depth. So it's something that it's in the path for future upgrades or future releases. Okay, well, I'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for everyone coming along this evening. Much appreciated. As I said tonight, there was a bit of a recap on some things that are probably very familiar for you, but a lot of things haven't changed with the Market Analyser 7. A lot of the tools that you're used to using are still there under the D2MX trade tools. And what has changed is that you've got a much more reliable platform in the background running it all. A question from Ian, just one more before we go. Can we see announcements from the charts? The announcements are not visible on the charts at this stage. You can see them in the watch list when there's a report, and you can actually set it up, or you can get an alert on a report. So AMP is reported today, and you can see in your watch list when a report comes out, but you can't see it on the charts at this stage. So thanks for that, and have a wonderful evening. I wish you all successful trading.